Hi guys. My name is Abby Sieberhagen and I actually matriculated in 2017, but I thought I'd share with you guys some advice and some resources on especially literature. So this is for Othello, as you can see. And what I want to do in this video specifically is go over one of the specific um, literature essays that I wrote during my matric year, and just give some advice on how I went about it. And well, why should you listen to me? Because I did quite well in English in matric. My final mark was 91. Not to brag or anything. I'm just suggesting to you that you might like if you are a person who struggles in terms of like how am I going to structure it, what are the real themes, I'm just struggling to understand Othello, then this is the kind of video for you. Because I'll just go through some things, and as I said, I matriculated 3 years ago, so it's not like I'm an expert on Othello anymore, but I think you will be able to benefit from this resource. Okay, well, without further ado, this was the question. Okay, so it said Othello is a great man, worthy of admiration. All right, so and then it implies now you have to like discuss it. Okay, so no matter what question they give you always have to like take a standpoint, okay? But there's a secret, which is that while you have to take a standpoint, which is agreeing or disagreeing or maybe saying yes or no, you always have to also give some evidence of the other side. Otherwise, it doesn't show that you thought deeply about the topic. And you might be thinking, well, we're under so much pressure during the exam in terms of time. You don't have the book in front of you. Everything has to be from memory. How are you supposed to be able to, you didn't know what the topic was going to be. How can you just come up with something great? So that's why one of my best tips for you is you need to have a flow in terms of like, you need to have keywords that you associate with each character. You need to have some like big words that make you sound smart, and you need to have some phrases that are like, wow, okay, it sounds like a a literature professor. And on that note, so the day before my final like literature paper in matric, all I did was I took my notes, all my notes I had made, and I read them aloud to myself, and I pretended that I was a literature professor, because you know how they say fake it till you make it. So if you tell yourself you know what's going on, and you speak like that, it actually helps you to remember. And the way that you speak about literature should be in a fluid way. When you speak that aloud, I sound so strange, like as if it's spiritual or something, but it's really just a flow that makes you, it translates into your writing, right? So what I did is I would walk around, I'd read it aloud, and pretend basically I'm a professor and I'm teaching someone, okay? Even though it was actually just, some trees around me. But yeah, and sometimes I'd go into like a British accent, do whatever you have to do. But I would suggest read as much as you can about not just like things like this, but Spark Notes or whatever notes your teacher gave you. You need to have that flow, because that's also going to come up when you answer short questions. Okay. So anyway, now finally we're going to actually go through the essay. So as I said, the question, Othello is a great man worthy of admiration. So first you got to have your planning. No, they're not going to mark it, but you definitely need to have that. Why? Because I found, I don't know if everyone finds this, but I found the word count to be quite tight, right? And so you need to be able to have your intro, your conclusion, and certain points that you want to drive home in between, and you need to know what those are. So as you can see there, under my planning, I wrote there leader and some random stuff next to it. Warrior, deep love, passion, believes in good, dedicated. And were these all things that I prepared in advance thinking about this exact topic? No. These are all things that are broad things that we should have an understanding of after studying this book. Listen, I didn't like Othello that much, okay? But I still had to get an understanding of this. I still had to know these things about Othello. And when you know those basics, when you know the big themes, the big topics, and you have an understanding of the main characters, plus a good few, quotes and some big words that make you sound smart, there you go. You're well on your way to being prepared for whatever topic they give you, okay? So there you can see I laid it out. To what extent I actually implemented those exact points is up for debate, but that was where I started from. And don't spend too long on that, And as you can see, I wrote on the side there some little notes. Okay, this is how I'm going to structure it so that when it adds up, the word count, it won't be too much. And now that I'm, so far out of school, I think it's safe for me to say, like, almost every time I would lie about the word count, I just definitely subtract 10, 20, 30 words before I wrote the word count. But that just shows you it can be a struggle. Okay, so now moving on. So in your where it says final, right? Now we've come to our introduction. So you can't really write your introduction without knowing a little bit about what you're going to write next. That's why the planning part is so good, because you got to hit some of those keywords in your intro paragraph already, okay? And even more importantly, you've got to basically rewrite the question, but in a little bit of a paraphrase. So what does that tell the examiner? It tells them, this isn't just some random thing you memorized and you're just rewriting and twisting it. You understand the question. You can rephrase it in a bit of a different way so that you really do know what it's talking about, and you give them just a hint of what's to come. Okay, so without further ado, let's read it together. And I would advise you to actually, you know what? I'm gonna read this whole thing first. All right. And I would encourage you to play this back maybe as revision, maybe while you're cooking or just chilling, just to stir your memory and get that flow going, that verbal word sentence structure, British literature professor type of vibe going. Okay. So the play Othello is considered a tragedy with a tragic hero in the form of Othello himself. Othello is portrayed as a man who has proven himself as noble and admirable in both battle and his devotion to his beloved Desdemona. However, it is his inherent warrior's heart and leadership instinct, combined with his deep love, that make him susceptible to Iago's evil schemes to destroy him. He is crippled by his consequential fatal flaw, or hubris, jealousy. Okay, so point number 1. Did you see that word hubris? That is a fancy word. Remember that word, okay? Because that basically, it means fatal flaw, right? But the fact that I said hubris already kind of elevates the level of this essay. And it fits with the context. So it's not like it sounds awkward, it sounds like it fits, okay? So what have I done? I've mentioned that he has proven himself noble and admirable, which links back to the question, Othello's a great man, worthy of admiration. Admirable, I literally said that there. I said why? His battle, his devotion. And then I twisted it around, right? And I said that actually has the ability to destroy him because it makes him vulnerable. So because of his fatal flaw, jealousy. So in hindsight, I think I would have maybe changed this intro a little bit, because it suggests that my end point is that he's actually not noble. But the way I actually do end it is by saying that he is actually to an extent worthy of admiration. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. If I think of more to say, then I'll come back. Okay, so let's go to the next point. So in the first act, Othello's power faultless reputation and morality come to the fore. See, fore? That's a fancy word. He has fought in wars around the world and suffered many terrible experiences. However, this has only strengthened his character. His stories give him charisma, where his lack of eloquence and knowledge of Venetian sophistication do not. Brabantio is initially intrigued by him, inviting him to his home. Desdemona's pity and compassion for him are the foundation of her devotion and unconditional love for him. However, Othello also demands immediate respect and carries himself with confidence. When Brabantio's and Cassio's men are on the verge, how do I change pages now? Are on the verge of battle over his interest, he stops the imminent conflict simply by commanding, "Put up your bright swords, for the dew will rust him." Othello has built a reputation to be envious of, such that when Brabantio accuses him of elopement in front of the judge, a mere honest account from Othello is all it takes to warrant his pardon. In fact, the next moment he is appointed general of the Venetian army in Cyprus, an honorable position. At this point, it is clear that Othello is enjoying a full and prosperous life, a high position despite being Moorish, black, and a foreigner, a young, beautiful wife, Desdemona, despite being older than her, and two seemingly loyal men to go with him, Iago and Cassio. However, these insecurities that Othello seems to have overcome are exactly what Iago, a hidden mortal enemy, aggravates from where they lie hidden beneath. Othello's contented surface. By corrupting Othello's noble nature and current prosperity, he is able to provoke in him a jealousy so powerful that it destroys him. Okay, so basically, in this paragraph, I could have just said, Othello is a great guy, everyone respects him, he's brave, he has overcome racism, his old age, and competition, but he gets jealous. Okay, I could have just said it like that, but can you see how I fluffed it out? But not just fluff, it's heavy fluff, okay? It's like high quality fluff. It's using that word count to your benefit. So basically with this paragraph, I started it out and I set out this picture, okay? I've also demonstrated to the examiner a general understanding of the plot line, because look at how much plot I already explained. I explained about his wife, his history, the whole scene of him in being accused of elopement, and then becoming a general. So there's a whole bunch of events that I've just summarized. So I'm telling this examiner, look, I'm not just using my like emotional intelligence here. I actually do know what happened in the book. And then in the beginning, I'm also explaining like his relationship with other things. So I'm painting this picture, right? So the whole first part actually does support the statement of Othello being a great man worthy of admiration, right? And then towards the end, I'm turning it around again. See, you always got to have these twists where it's like, okay, but I can see both sides of the coin. So at this word, however, let me just highlight this. These hidden insecurities that Othello seems to have overcome. If it's not clear enough to you what I'm saying, I'm talking about the racism, because they had this derogatory word being Moorish, okay? He was foreign, he wasn't even from that place, he was quite old, so it's hard for him, it would have been, it's surprising that he got such a young, beautiful wife, and it's sometimes difficult to trust your companions, but he's managed to find great loyal men, or so he thinks, okay? So these are these insecurities that he seems to have overcome, but lo and behold, the enemy is going to sweep in and he's going to pick those insecurities out of you, and though you seem content, he is going to get to you, all right? So see how I turned that around. Okay, next paragraph. Another admirable quality possessed by Othello and corrupted by Iago is his deep love and passion. He is an excellent and loving husband to Desdemona, initially wanting only for her to be happy. He gives himself fully to her in love, which is praiseworthy. However, it comes at a great price. When he begins to doubt her fidelity at Iago's subtle suggestions, his entire identity, which he has enmeshed with hers, begins to unravel. Okay, so this is now paragraph 2. Do you see how it's taken a different direction? The first one was all about respect. It was all about his position, his image, his admirability. He's this big hero. This next one is about him as a husband, as a lover, and then again making that twist of how what seems to be a great thing actually contributed a lot to his downfall. Okay, so he was actually such a good husband that he lost a bit of himself. He lost that independence of identity, so that when he doubted her, he starts to unravel. I hope that makes sense. But again, notice some of the phrases I've used, and these are things I've practiced before, I've read before. These are things, when you repeat things like this, these kind of phrases come back to you as you're writing, and you just sound more fancy. I can't emphasize that enough. It worked for me. I think it can work for you. Just let someone else read what you've practiced writing, just in case it sounds a little bit like cheesy. Okay. Third one. So basically it seems like I've emphasized 3 different points. Okay, so first one, his nobility. Second one, his loverness, his love. And then thirdly, what is this one going to be? Okay, Othello has a true warrior nature, which grants him a worthy stature. I think that means stature, yeah, in society. He has a clear view of right and wrong and shows unbiased discipline when he dismisses Cassio after a drunken brawl. Okay, however, he is also thus too readily prepared to resort to violence, to exact justice, and cannot perceive the more subtle, deceitful war which Iago is waging on him. Okay, so this paragraph is a little bit more complex. I think it's not the easiest thing to come across. I think I also could have done it better, but basically it's saying too much brawl and too little brain, like brawl over brain. I don't know if that makes sense. So Othello, he's used to fighting. That's how he solves things. He's not used to these mind games. He's not used to subtle deception and like manipulation that Iago does. So Iago is basically he knows what Othello's weaknesses are, and he plays on them, as you've said many times. But he also, this particularly is his psychological weakness, right? So part of a true warrior is like, in a way, sportsmanship, right? You fight hard, you know what you're fighting for, but you also know like what's fair and what's not fair, and he particularly, he shows grace, and he'd rather give a guy the benefit of the doubt. He's not just like a brute. So he shows unbiased discipline when he dismisses Cassio after a drunken brawl. He's not showing his emotions or using like some kind of a bias in the situation in the way he acts. He is using kind of objectivity, the objectivity that a warrior has in life. Like, things are black and white, things are right and wrong. But to Iago, he knows that actually there's a lot of gray, and there's a lot of ways that you can use those gray areas to make Othello think that what's black is white, what's white is black, what's wrong is right, what's right is wrong, and until he no longer knows what to believe. Okay, then the conclusion. Despite the downfall Othello suffers, to which all humans to some degree are susceptible, it cannot be argued that Othello, in no way, establishes himself as a great leader, a man truly worthy of admiration. So it's what I think is interesting, looking back as if I didn't write this, because I mean it was so long ago, but I put this position at kind of like a in between, saying yes, he kind of sucked in some ways, but you can't say he didn't also do good things. You can't say he wasn't also great. So I'm not saying he was fully great, and I'm not saying he fully sucked. I'm saying that he's just human, but at least he tried. Like he really did try. So I can't even tell you for sure which one I'm saying more, but I think I actually scratch that. I do know. The side about him being a great leader is kind of the conclusion that I come to. But as you can see, this balance between the two, like, wow, let me really weigh this up. Let me look at evidence on both sides. That is what an examiner wants to see. Okay, so let's review. So I first had my planning. I ended up using, actually, let me look back from my planning. What did I use? Leader, okay? Paragraph 1 was all about his leadership qualities. Okay, then deep love, passion, that was my paragraph 2. Then believing in good, that was my paragraph 3, along with the warrior part. So being an unbiased warrior who sees things objectively and is willing to fight for noble causes, right? So that was what I put into paragraph 4. So all of these things that were general themes of Othello's character came up in this essay, okay? So I hope you can see why preparing some general things really does help. Then next review point, the bigger words, the references to plot lines, the references to other characters, specific events, and some, fancy phrases. So pretend you are an old professor that speaks like this. Speak it aloud. Listen to me speaking it again. And I think you can get the hang of it. I hope this was helpful. So that's it from me.